All right, hello to my face friends. I was down in the garage cleaning my bike. She's very, very dirty. And I thought I would do just a really quick I wanted to share a little kind of a video on how I maneuver my motorcycle around, because I'm small, and when you're small, there's this thought that you have to be able to be so big in order to move your bike around and park it and just essentially ride it. But I want to tell you that's not true, and that you can totally manipulate your bike. And this is one, like my preferred method to park my bike and maneuver it, is to get off my bike. So I want to give you a few tips for that and tell you basically how I managed to do that. I'm going to give you these thoughts, and then I'm going to jump up, position the phone, and then just do a quick little back and forth with my bike so you can see what I'm talking about. The first thing that you want to do is make sure you have the right footwear. So, sorry, I'm holding this, my hand hurts. It's a little tiring to do this. First thing you want to do is make sure your footwear is strong. So whether it's at least a pair of sneakers or your riding boots or a boot, just something that has more leverage than your barefoot or a flip-flop. And by the way, I'm wearing flip-flops, but at this point I've done this 1,000 times, so it's not a big deal for me to wear them, and I feel comfortable and confident. But as you start practicing this and you're thinking about, you want to try to do this yourself, you want to feel a little bit more confident from the get-go. So make sure you have the right footwear on. The other thing is make sure your tire pressure is set properly. If your tires are too low at like 20, 25, 28, 30 PSI in the front, you're gonna feel the bike is not gonna roll as smoothly and easily. So you wanna make sure that that is not an issue. The other thing you wanna make sure is your bike is in neutral. So that will help it roll better than rolling in first gear. You also want to, what was my other thing? Let's see, tires, my brain just went blank. Tires and footwear. Oh, and then ground. So I'm gonna show you my driveway. It's just flat, boring concrete. Flat. You wanna make sure that wherever you decide to get off your bike and back it up in reverse, make sure it's totally sloped flat. So that means if you're attempting to park somewhere and stop, you have to take a second and just kind of think about, all right, how do I line myself up so that I am always pointing either uphill, because you can't back your 400, 500 pound bike backwards, so uphill, right? Unless it's a dirt bike maybe, because they're really light. But if you're really short, they're gonna be tall. So make sure the ground is really flat. I always make sure that I'm sloped as flat as possible so that I'm not fighting gravity. So I'm gonna show you how I do this, and then I'm going to sit down and give you a couple other pointers. So I'm gonna put my camera down. I think that's a good spot. There we go. So that was me and Goldie, and we're parking. One thing I wanted to show you, hopefully you saw that as I was doing it, is that sorry, I'm trying to hold this so that I don't drop it, that the bike is always on my body, and you saw that it was up against this part of the bike was on my hip, my waist, and my thigh, and I actually shoved my knee into this part of my bike, like right here, right around here is where I braced my right side of my body, so that if something happens, the bike falls on my body, on me, and I've got it braced. And then you saw when I took my hands away, the bike was totally resting on me, and it's not just my hand strength or my upper body strength, but it's really lower body. So all this was on me. I also use my knee right here, kind of in this zone, to push it around and give myself leverage. If you're lucky to have frame sliders like right here, then that's also a really good spot for you to shove your knee into, because then you can really like use your lower body and push really hard if you need to get the bike moving, right? Because we're all very small, and we're not like tremendously strong. We can't bench press 400 pounds. We can't deadlift things at 300, 400 pounds. So to kind of get this big bike moving, I use my knee right here, and then I just give it a little gentle shove. Now, assuming my tires are good and I'm in neutral, then the bike rolls pretty freely. But just having this area up against my body is how I brace, and that's how I'm able to keep my bike from falling over, and I'm stable. That's also why I can't, I just don't want to ride, I can't have a bike that has a big cylinder right here, like BMWs, like the R lines, R1200. Even though I love the R1200R that I rode, I really enjoyed it very much, but I couldn't own that bike because the cylinder was right where my knee needs to go, and for me, I need that space. So those are just a few tips that I wanted to share with you, in case you're new, or maybe you bought a new bike and it's a little heavier than you thought, in case you feel like you have to get on your bike and walk it around all the time. I want you to know that's not true. It's just not true, and that you can do whatever you want, however you want to, as long as it works for you, it's safe, and it gets the job done. So I say, make up your own rules as you go along, and do what you have to do. I'm hoping to do maybe a follow-up video about some of my other tips, but I just thought of these couple little tips that I wanted to share with you. So I hope that helps. I'll see you later.